Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 19th of 2024, and given that the Walt Disney Company is getting ready to make a series of announcements, by the way, by this November and December about their upcoming roster, their roadmap, if you will, of upcoming projects related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to the Star Wars franchise, to many other things associated with Pixar, there's going to be a lot of things that Bob Iger's trying to do in the form of damage control, basically, to really kind of make up for what happened throughout all of this year in 2023. Is it going to help? I highly doubt that. There's going to be a lot of updates about upcoming projects next month and the month after that, and we'll have to wait and see if it's really going to have any kind of a positive impact. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, one thing about the current status of Lucasfilm is that we know that this company in particular is in a downward spiral, and for multiple reasons. Now, the biggest one of all, and it is indeed the elephant in the room, the Acolyte. Alright, this is the main series of 2024 that really was the final nail in the Disney Lucasfilm coffin, and a lot of fans are, at this point, really rejecting Star Wars at all costs. I mean, they want nothing to do with this franchise anymore after what they witnessed with the Acolyte series. Look, as long as you got Kathleen Kennedy and her loyalists at Lucasfilm employed there, there's going to be no change at the company, no change for the Star Wars brand, unless they are all completely purged, and or you have Star Wars in the hands of a different studio/company. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Leslye Headland, the director and showrunner of the Acolyte series, going on yet another rant about the quote-unquote Star Wars boycott, as she likes to put it, and as Kathleen Kennedy likes to put it as well. But what's interesting about this is that with the Walt Disney Company already going through numerous cost-cutting strategies that were greenlit by Bob Iger, one major development going on currently has more to do with the current situation at Lucasfilm after multiple issues have risen with Kathleen Kennedy and among others. However, Leslye Headland recently delivered the following to the Star Wars community after the Acolyte backlash led to many fans running away from the franchise and or became very apathetic, if you will. She goes on to state, "Well, look, as both a director and writer, I will say that I think I hold more knowledge than the regular Joe about the expanded universe. As a woman who really collected the EU books," she's talking about the expanded universe, "and novels in the 1990s, it was my priority on how we can flip those stories to cater to a female demographic, you know, and to see a certain margin of the Star Wars community that consists of both toxic men and women refusing to even engage in material that was cherry-picked from what George endorsed years and years ago. Well, I find that to be insulting. It seems that's the new trend with Star Wars. You just have fans, if you even want to call them fans anymore, but you have these posers, you know, that reject anything to do with female leads or those of color. It's sickening, honestly, and it really is offensive to me personally and to those that I have worked with on set. I feel like if I had just taken George Lucas's vision and the EU books he endorsed and put those directly to live action, well, that's just lazy storytelling and not creative at all. This is why you just can't take a book and bring it into live action." Alright guys, I gotta stop there. Does that make the Harry Potter franchise lazy storytelling when it comes to the movies based on the books? You got me. Leslye Headland has no clue what she's talking about. Moving on. She continues, "It's exactly why we don't have characters like Jaina and Jason Solo, and instead have Ben Solo. Cherry-picking is the key, and using your inspiration of those characters on how they can cater themselves to the modern world and a modern audience. It's so disheartening to see that this is where the Star Wars fans have ended up, rejecting a franchise just because they may think it's cool, or a fad, or something like that. And looking through all of this taking place as a creator, it's rebellious and childish behavior. I still stand by my creation with the Acolyte and support everything I and Kathleen Kennedy made happen on the screen. Our vision was deeply inspired by those like Rian Johnson, who told a bold tale of Luke Skywalker. This time it was a bold tale about the Force and the Jedi, and I took so much inspiration from him." Now guys, let me just say one thing about what Leslie's spewing here yet again. So here we are, it's like the last couple of months of 2024, and they're in this second phase now of blasting Star Wars fans, because I think that the realization is setting in now that even after June, July, and August, and heck, even after September, if you want to count that as well, as the acolyte era of Disney's 2024 year, even after all those many months, the Acolyte series is still garbage, alright? I guess they were counting on, like, you know, last-minute audience members tuning in to watch the show, and it didn't happen, alright? Basically, this series has no residual Star Wars fans tuning into the franchise or tuning into the show months and months later, giving it a shot. That's not even happening, and that's a real bad sign when it comes to Lucasfilm. So, interestingly enough, we know that Leslye Headland, I think, is really grasping at straws now. She really has no clue who to blame anymore. She's now labeling regular fans as posers if they bring up any kind of criticism, if they bring up any kind of their issues with the direction of the Star Wars universe. It's not a big surprise at all. This is a typical Disney hire behavior. She wants to say that those that have a lot of criticism have childish and rebellious behaviors. Well, she's the one with a behavior just like that, let's be honest. So, moving onwards, she goes on to conclude, why are they acting this way? It just boils down to the ongoing issues of sexism and misogyny, that's all. We saw that with the criticism that we got with the Acolyte from a loud minority of fans, and we are seeing it again now months later. I just don't understand how so many can act a certain way toward a brand that is trying to support diversity, equity, and everything that is all great in this world and all the great things that Lucasfilm and Disney had to offer. It's just the issues that we need to keep addressing is all I hope, and I hope one day somebody achieves that. So, I think that Leslye Headland right now is having a very hard time coping with the fact that the Acolyte series is literally worse than The Last Jedi. Some of you may not agree with my stance on that, but it most certainly is as far as I'm seeing things based on how many fans walked away, how large the backlash was. I really never saw a backlash that large when it came to any project via Disney Star Wars, alright? It was larger than The Last Jedi, because I think it had a lot to do with the fact that we went through this already back in 2017, and we dealt with it again in 2024, so it was basically doubled. You had a lot of newcomers that also rejected this thing, a lot of new fans that weren't necessarily hardcore Star Wars fans or even casual fans. These were people just starting to get into the Star Wars world that rejected the show as well. And that's why the backlash was so large, by such a big margin, to the point where even Disney couldn't really, you know, make up any kind of nonsense about, oh, we gotta make a season 2 just because. No, they couldn't do it because they spent so much money on this thing. So overall, you know, we know at the same exact time, this is basically going to be their last-ditch effort. I highly doubt that this phase of damage control is going to last long. Come November, you're not going to hear from these people anymore, most likely. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.